Hi everyone, welcome to Dr. Judy Healthy Cooking. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the most requested recipe called Chinese donut, or in Cambodian they call it Giak Khoai. And it's very simple. We can modify this to be semi-healthy for our loved one. So we're going to use 3 cups of all-purpose flour for a family of 4 to 10 people. So we're going to pour 3 cups of flour into a bowl, and of course, you know, in my book, Enhancing Your Life Now, if you're a chef, you don't really need to measure them. You can kind of eyeball them. So Himalayan salt, I use a whole tablespoon. Some people don't like too salty, so just do a teaspoon. And then I use organic cane sugar. Depending on how you like the flavor of the bread, you could do 1 tablespoon of sugar, or you could do a teaspoon. It's up to you, it's preference. Then you're gonna put all of this in a bowl, crack 1 egg in there for 3 cups of flour. Then after that, you're going to use Fleischmann rapid yeast rice. You put it in a cup, and then you're going to dissolve it in a warm water, more towards the hot side of the water, to kind of get the yeast to rise quicker, for me anyways. And so stir this yeast up and just pour it into the bowl and mix it like you would mix any dough. Knead it like you would be making bread or you know, any baking goods that you would do. So it's very simple. Get the water. If the flour is a little dry, you just add a little bit more water to the texture of it to get your consistency. So I would say about 2 cups, which is about 16 ounces of warm water. You can slowly add the water into the flour while you're mixing it, so the consistency of the dough is not too dry or too soft. And just knead it once you get the water into the flour, and knead it into the dough, and then let it sit for a good 45 minutes to let it rise. And then when it rises, you can start frying it, and I will show you the steps of how to fry this in once it's done. So all right, now since the flour has rised, we're ready to go ahead and make the Giak Khoai. Obviously, you're gonna need the flour to place on the cutting board, and this itself as well. You need water to kind of make the bread stick together. So we're gonna start by, you know, like if you want to make pretzel, just roll the dough out, and then you're gonna cut them in about, I would say 4 inches in length. And then we're gonna deep fry them. I use coconut oil to deep fry because it's a little bit more healthier than any other oil, and also your body can digest the coconut oil better too. So once you roll the dough out, we can go ahead and cut them, and I'm gonna show you how to place the. So now that we roll the dough out, and you want it to be about 1 inch long, this here is about, what, 4 inches? Then you're gonna cut it in half. And then what you're gonna do is, once you cut them in half, you're gonna place a dab of water right in the center of the bread. And then you just reattach them together like that. Okay? And then I use coconut oil in the deep frying pan. Then when you put them in, you kind of stretch it a little bit like this, and then just throw them in the frying pan. So right here, you see how this is falling apart? That's because the water wasn't placed enough on it for it to kind of glue it together. So you can see how it falls apart like that. So this one is perfectly placed. You can see that it's starting to rise, and then this one. So make sure that the water that you place, it's like a glue, it acts as a glue that you place on it, just enough. And you can start to see. And make sure that the oil also is enough to cover. So as you can see how this falls apart right here because not enough water. But there's also a downside to it too. If you place too much water, it actually, this side here won't open, this center. It'll be sticking together. So just use a right amount, a dab of it, okay? So you can see how it's rising, and it's gonna be delicious. So we're gonna let that turn golden brown, and then we'll take it out of the frying. So make sure that the heating is set properly, not too hot. Once the oil is boiling, you want to turn it down to a medium heat, and then periodically turn this bread so it won't burn. And it allows the bread to rise properly. So you can see how this side's a little too dark here. So you want to flip them over. So here's the finished product.